You know when you hear about a movie and you really hope that it will be made one day because it sounds so freaking awesome, and then sometimes it either doesn't come to frustration, or when it does get made, it doesn't turn out the way you think. Sometimes there are a lot of those films, you know? Especially the ones that, like, never came to be. Like, when you think about James Cameron's Spider-Man, for an example, a movie that was supposed to be directed by James Cameron with Leonardo DiCaprio as the lead. That would have been interesting to me. And here are some other ones that I'm wish would have came true. Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to talk about some of the Batman movies that were supposed to be made back in the late 90s, early 2000s, before Batman Begins was out. And because I was inspired by this little DVD here that I got, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, directed by Jon Schnepp. For those of you that watch Collider Movie Talk, Jon Schnepp is one of the main, hosts on there. So I've been following a Collider Movie Talk for a long time, when they were still called AMC Movie Talk. And I'll just call it the Movie Talk for short. And though Jon Schnepp was there since the beginning, since I was because I was watching Movie Talk since early 2013, before Man of Steel came out. Jon Schnepp always talked about this Death of Superman Lives documentary that he was working on. So I was always curious of what was that always about. And finally, it's been released on Blu-ray and DVD. If you want to check that out, I highly recommend it. It's a great documentary on the death of Superman Lives. Superman Lives was supposed to be a movie with Tim Burton directing and Nicolas Cage starring as Superman. And you might have heard about this story because Kevin Smith has talked about it on his DVD, An Evening with Kevin Smith. I think it was number 2, the second volume. And yeah, I mean, that story always fascinated me, and I was always curious of what that movie would have been, especially the way Kevin Smith talked about it. But he talked about it very vaguely. He didn't really give much detail. This documentary gives a lot more detail. So when I heard about this documentary, especially recently, I started as the DVD was coming out closer and closer, it started getting me to think about all the other movies in the past that I remember that, got me excited, that I would have liked to see and learn more about as well. And these are some of the movies that I remember hearing news about and some of the rumors I remember surrounding it. So let's get into it, guys. These are some of the Batman movies that were supposed to be, or at least rumored to be, and they never came to be, unfortunately. And fortunately, actually, we got Batman Begins, so it all turned out good at the end. But here are some other ones that we almost got. First of all, there was Batman Triumphant. Batman Triumphant was supposed to be the movie following Batman and Robin, where George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, and Alicia Silverstone were all going to return in their roles as Batman, Robin, and Batgirl. There was a lot of rumors surrounding this. Now, at the time, I was a fan of Batman and Robin. I was a dumb kid back then, so excuse me. I'm sorry if you're taking that as an insult or something. Nowadays, now that I'm older and wiser, I get it. Batman and Robin sucks. But there were a lot of really cool rumors surrounding this movie. I remember some rumors was the casting of the Scarecrow. Scarecrow was supposed to be one of the main villains, which, kind of adds to the idea that maybe Warner Brothers is sometimes the one that picks the villains, or whoever was writing the script, maybe they were the ones, okay, they picked the villains, let's keep, because Scarecrow is the villain we eventually got in Batman Begins. So I remember Jeff Goldblum being one of those actors rumored to play the Scarecrow. He was the one that popped up the most, I remember, at the time. And to me, I remember thinking that would have been pretty cool to see. Jeff Goldblum, the guy from the Jurassic Park franchise and Independence Day, I could see him, even today, I could still see him easily as the Scarecrow. I think he'd be an interesting pick. I remember at the time, Harley Quinn was also being rumored, and Madonna was the one I remember the most being the front and center choice for the character. There was even at one point Jack Nicholson, rumors of Jack Nicholson going to return as the Joker, and I believe there might be at one of the Academy Awards, he might have even hinted at his return as the Joker in a Batman, because with the Scarecrow there, the Scarecrow would be able to create illusions for Batman that would bring the Joker back. And to me, this excited me the most, because the idea of the Joker coming back, because he was dead, right? But if you were able to bring him back, this would be the best way to do it then. That's why I hate it when they kill villains also, and it's so freaking annoying, because it's like this, you don't have any problems with bringing them back. Just keep the villain alive, you know? Put them in prison for a while. And then when you want to use them again, have them escape or something. I also remember there was a rumor that Ra's al Ghul was going to be in the movie eventually. Eventually it changed from Scarecrow and Harley Quinn to Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul. And I remember reading this rumor that Val Kilmer was going to play Ra's al Ghul. And the only reason I thought that was cool was because, you know, at the time it was George Clooney and he replaced Val Kilmer. I thought it would be cool. Yeah, kind of get like the guy who played Batman last to return as the villain this time, to kind of like, you know, foreshadow or whatever the fact that, you know, that actor replaced that one. So it's, I don't know. It was dumb at the same time, but it was funny to me at the same time. There was also rumors, I remember, Batman 6. They were planning Batman Triumphant and Batman 6 at the same time, I remember. Now, remember, I don't know how much of this is true, but it was this was a cool rumor too, because the rumor was that Robin Williams was going to play the Mad Hatter in Batman 6. And Jim Carrey was going to return as the Riddler. And I thought, oh my god, you get Jack Nicholson to return in Batman 5, and you get the Riddler to return in Batman 6, Jim Carrey returning. And a Jim Carrey-Robin Williams collaboration was something I always wanted to see when I was younger. I remember, because these were my two favorite comedians back in the day. And they still are one of my all-time favorites, and it's sad that we lost Robin Williams and that I'll never get to see that Jim Carrey Robin Williams collaboration. But it would have been awesome, especially in a Batman movie. I could just totally see it. But then that kind of gave the idea that, wait, are they going lighter again? At the time I didn't think about it, but now thinking about it, if that rumor was true, that kind of makes me a little bit worried now as an adult. So, I don't know. I also remember there was a Catwoman movie being worked on at the time, which eventually we got with Halle Berry, which was horrible. One of them, in my opinion, the worst superhero movie of all time. But I remember Michelle Pfeiffer was attached for a long time, but then she dropped out and Ashley Judd was attached to the project for a long while, up until almost its, you know, when they were getting ready to start filming, and then she dropped out, and that's when Halle Berry joined the project. So, unfortunately, some things are true, as you can see, but as the longer they take, the longer things change, and sometimes it turns out for the worse. Another project I remember hearing about was Batman Beyond, and I remember Paul Dini and Alan Burnett, I believe it was Alan Burnett, were supposed to write the script for the movie. And I was really excited about this too, because I was a huge fan of Batman Beyond. They actually kind of confirmed this in interviews that they did write a script, but as the project was going, Warner Brothers was starting to get more interested in a Batman Year One movie. So I guess that's what happened to that, right? Batman Beyond quickly got shoved the other way. Some people say they can't see this happening with a Batman Beyond movie ever happening. I'd like to think otherwise. I think the idea of Bruce Wayne getting older and having to put away the cape and cowl, I think that's a really cool idea for a film, and I think it would actually translate really well depending on how you do it. As long as you let the audience know that this isn't temporary and that one day we'll get back to the Bruce Wayne Batman stuff. But as I'd like to see a trilogy of Batman Beyond, or at least one movie of Batman Beyond, just to see how it would turn out, because you have something like The Mask of Zorro or Ant-Man. I know people are gonna say, yeah, but not a lot of people know about Ant-Man or Mask of Zorro, so you can do that with that type of a character. With Bruce Wayne, he's so iconic and so loved that I don't know. I think otherwise. I think it could work as a trilogy, but what do I know, right? I'm not working in Hollywood. Of course, there was also the famous Batman versus Superman movie that was rumored back in the late 90s. This was really when Warner Brothers was desperate to get these two superheroes back on track. This was after Superman Lives, I guess, was kind of canned, and so was Batman 5 at the time. And yeah, Warner Brothers was really desperate to get these two and I remember reading somewhere that the reason they kind of pushed this one to the side somewhere was because, you know what, they were kind of afraid if this movie bombs, we just killed two of our most popular superheroes in our, DC roster. So I think that's why that was planned. I remember rumors that, they were planning on bringing Jack Nicholson as the Joker back for that one. And the idea I remember reading was that the rumor was that Lex Luthor was going to bring the Joker back to life. And to me, that would have been interesting too. I would have loved to see that. But that the Joker would kill Batman's girlfriend, whoever that was going to be in the movie, Julie Madison or something like that, or Vicky Vale, I don't remember now. But or maybe they didn't even state the name. But that's what would have caused the fight, the battle between Batman and Superman. And to me, thinking about it, even at the time, I remember, I don't know if I really like that idea, like framing Superman so Batman could go after him. But it's funny because it's like, that's kind of what's happening in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. But I feel like the reason in Batman v Superman is more reasonable. I think it's more believable. Like the fact that, they're using Man of Steel's ending to kind of go back to Bruce Wayne, tie it to Bruce Wayne, that he was there and that it was his building and lots of people that he knew died in that building. I think that's a much better idea than killing Bruce Wayne's girlfriend or framing Superman for Bruce Wayne's girlfriend's death. And, to me, yeah, it's sort of the same idea, but I like the idea that Batman v Superman is coming out with more. So I think this worked out for the best, not doing the Batman versus Superman movie back in the 90s, but doing it now. I think it works a lot better now, thanks to Man of Steel. I also remember at one point, this is more for television, but I remember at one point, Warner Brothers was even planning a young Bruce Wayne TV series. It's funny because eventually they dropped it because at that time they were planning a young Batman movie, which was going to be Batman Year One with Darren Aronofsky as the director, and the show, the Young Bruce Wayne series, which I believe the pilot script is online somewhere. If you search it on Google, I'm sure you'll find it. And the Young Bruce Wayne series eventually turned into Smallville, the Young Clark Kent series instead, which, once again, works out for the best. Everything sometimes works their way. I think the only one that didn't work their way right was Catwoman. That one went in a totally different direction that shouldn't have. And that was, Warner Brothers' first film to, try to relaunch their movies once again, because that was their first film since Steel and Batman and Robin. So, shit happens sometimes. Of course, there was also Batman Year One. This was a movie that I remember Joel Schumacher expressing interest. Actually, I think he even expressed it in the DVD special features of Batman and Robin. That's the DVD where he even famously apologizes for Batman and Robin. And I remember thinking, again, I liked Batman and Robin back then, so I didn't have no hate towards him. I still don't have hate towards Joel Schumacher. The blame shouldn't be entirely on him. It should be on a whole group of people. But I remember he was rumored to be the director, and so was, I think Frank Miller was either writer or he was rumored to be both writer and director. I don't know. And I remember he was thinking of doing an African American Alfred. I'm not sure on that. And Batman, there was some controversy about Batman, his take on Batman, that a lot of people didn't like. And so, I don't know. And after seeing The Spirit, maybe it's good that Frank Miller doesn't direct. So, I remember Darren Aronofsky was supposed to direct the Batman Year One project at the time. For those of you that don't know, he directed such movies as Pi. That was the movie that really got him started. Requiem for a Dream, The Fountain, Black Swan, and the recent Noah with Russell Crowe in the title role. Yeah, I thought it was cool, a cool choice. I wasn't too fond of his movies back in the day because I was, again, much younger, and his style of film didn't capture me at the time. But looking back at it now, I think he would have been an interesting choice to direct a Batman movie. It's always the small independent filmmakers that, like, because you see their films, sometimes it's not always the greatest choice, but who knows? These are films that, you know, who knows how far into production they were in. But eventually, you know, he dropped out and we got Christopher Nolan, which, once again, I have to say was for the best because, I mean, the Dark Knight trilogy is my all-time favorite trilogy. So I think everything worked out for the best at the end of the day. And who knows what other Batman movies or superhero movies in general were being made around that time. Like I mentioned earlier, there was the James Cameron Spider-Man. There was, you know, at one point, I believe Brett Ratner was supposed to direct Superman, the reboot at one point. So there's so many different ways directors could have brought these films, and who knows which ones could have actually been successes and which ones could have actually been misses. But The Death of Superman Lives is totally one to check out, guys. I totally recommend this documentary. It's very interesting, and it gives you the idea of how Hollywood was looking at these type of films at the time, because they weren't really as well respected as they are now. I mean, they're still struggling a little bit. You still hear about some filmmakers or actors like trash talking superhero films, but they're being much more well made nowadays than they were back in the day. So check it out. I'll leave a link at the bottom in the description box to Jon Schnepp's site so you guys can check it out and hopefully buy a copy. This is an independent filmmaker, so, you know, support those in need because they're the ones working hard for our entertainment values. So until next time, guys, take care.